Stories that time forgot.
No one suspected that the raucous laughter echoing through that opulent Dallas boardroom would, in reality, be the death knell for a global empire that seemed bulletproof. The 3-second error that sank Blockbuster. Imagine you are standing in the year 2000, walking through the carpeted aisles of a blue and yellow storefront, surrounded by that signature scent of freshly popped popcorn and the warm plastic of video cassette cases. You feel the weight of a movie box in your hands while the air conditioning hums at full blast, trying to mitigate the sweltering Texas heat leaking through the massive plate glass windows. At headquarters, a man named Reed Hastings waits nervously in front of a solid oak table, offering his small mail-order rental company for the sum of $50 million. The silence that follows his proposal lasts exactly 3 seconds, a minuscule interval of time in which the fate of millions of subscribers and thousands of employees is sealed forever. The Blockbuster executives, in their bespoke suits and arrogance backed by billions of dollars in revenue, look at Hastings as if he were a snake oil salesman at a county fair. You feel the tension in the room when the first laugh erupts, shattering the brief, reflective pause that could have altered the course of digital history. Jim Keyes, the director of corporate development, does not see a competitor in Netflix, but rather an annoying gnat trying to bite a steel-plated elephant. In that moment, Blockbuster dominates the market with 9,000 stores spread across 34 countries, controlling 84% of the sector in the United States of America. To them, the idea of shipping discs through the traditional postal service seems like a bad joke and inefficiency that no one in their right mind would prefer over the tactile experience of visiting a physical store. What those executives fail to process is that those 3 seconds of contempt represent the most expensive cognitive failure of the modern era, a total disconnect from an emerging technological reality. Visualize now the resentment pulsing in Hastings' heart as he leaves the building under the scorching September sun. It had all started a year earlier, in 1999, when he had to pay a $40 late fee for returning the movie Apollo 13. You hear the jingle of coins falling into the Blockbuster register, a sound that was heavenly music to the corporation, but an unnecessary humiliation for the customer. That fine was the spark that ignited the bonfire of innovation, as Hastings decided to create a system where punishment was not the foundation of the business. Netflix was born as a visceral response to the constant friction of physical stores, the car ride, searching through empty shelves, and the pressure of the clock. While Blockbuster was counting cash from penalties, Hastings began harvesting something far more valuable: data on every user's behavior. Put yourself in the shoes of a customer of that era and notice the subtle shift in treatment beginning to brew in the market. In the year 2002, as the DVD player becomes a standard in every home, Blockbuster has the opportunity to launch its own online service. However, you hear the voices in the boardroom killing the project because they fear cannibalizing the sales of their own physical stores. Those rental temples that devour capital in leases and payroll. It is a catastrophic failure of vision where they choose to protect bricks and mortar, instead of embracing the freedom of bits and pixels. The atmosphere in the central offices is one of fictitious calm, while on the horizon, a fiber optic storm is gathering, threatening to wipe their plastic shelves off the map. As we move toward the year 2005, you feel the change in the air, an electric vibration running through homes with increasingly fast broadband connections. Netflix reaches 4 million subscribers, and Blockbuster, in a desperate attempt to react, finally launches its digital platform. But the weight of its legacy structure is too heavy, and they commit the fatal error of maintaining late fees on postal shipments. You hear the crinkle of Netflix's cardboard envelopes opening in thousands of mailboxes, a sound that represents trust and convenience. Customers immediately perceive that while one company wants to make their lives easier, the other only seeks to extract the last cent from their forgetfulness. Imagine the year 2007, when the gray skies of an economic crisis begin to loom and Netflix takes the definitive leap by launching its direct transmission or streaming service. There are no more discs, no more waiting, only the soft whir of your computer fan. Blockbuster responds with a hybrid model so convoluted it requires users to visit physical stores to activate their digital accounts. You feel the frustration of users trapped in an obsolete system, while the stock value of the blue and yellow chain begins to plummet. The initial arrogance of those 3 seconds of silence has now transformed into a dull panic echoing through the hallways of the Dallas headquarters. We reach the fateful year 2010, and the atmosphere is that of an imminent funeral with the smell of old paper and shuttered offices. Blockbuster enters technical bankruptcy and receives a buyout offer from Dish Network for $320 million. While the digital world moves at the speed of light, Netflix, in that same period, invests $2 billion in creating original content. When the purchase of Blockbuster is finalized in April of 2011, the brand is already a living corpse. You feel the bitter irony of history when you observe the final figures. In the year 2020, Netflix surpassed a market value of $220 billion. The only store left standing in Bend, Oregon, is now a time capsule where the air smells of 1990. It is a monument to corporate blindness, a place where tourists take photos with empty cases that once represented absolute power. Reflect on how the minds of those executives filtered reality to protect a business model that provided them with security and status. While they were defending pieces of plastic, Hastings understood that entertainment is a constant flow service, something that must move like water or electricity. The lesson left floating in the cold air of those empty offices is that innovation is not a technological option, but a mental disposition. The 3-second error reminds us that time is the most implacable judge, and that history does not forgive those who prefer the safety of a glorious past. The lights of the Blockbuster signs went out forever, but their shadow continues to loom over every company that believes itself too big to fall. What current innovation seems so absurd to you today that you might be committing the same 3-second error that destroyed Blockbuster? Like and subscribe to discover more stories time forgot.